Okay, I want to take a little bit of time to go through how we're going to kind of deal with the final version and move from the middle draft into the final version. And I'll cover all the buttons and bells of MLA. And it's really important that you get MLA down right now. And there are generally two approaches to formatting an essay. There's APA and MLA. Okay, APA is the American Psychological Association, and what they came up with a format to how they want to do things. But we're going to use what's called MLA, and that's the Modern Language Association. And a little bit of history on this that you don't want to hear about, but back in the 80s, they came up with this. This was an association of all the professors and all the editors and everybody who worked in a modern language, including something like Spanish or French, and taught these languages in an academic setting or dealt with them in a way that where it had to be formatted. And they came up with one way. Now, back in my day, when I first started college, they didn't have an agreement about how sources were handled and how formatting. Every instructor did it somewhat differently. Okay, so Professor Jones did it differently than Professor Smith, and everybody changed the rules of the game. And in 1984, they came up with their first MLA, our formatting, and they said, hey, everybody, do it this way. We're going to get one set of rules that everybody could follow, so that when you play, when you play this game of writing in essays in universities, you know that if you go to the University of Toledo, you're going to do it the same way that they do it at the University of Southern California, or at Chaffey College, or over there in Florida. Everybody, including Stanford and Harvard, do it this way. Okay, everybody basically agreed we're going to play the game that way. So MLA, as the Modern Language Association, has become the standard in all the humanities courses throughout the nation. And so once you're done with Victor Valley College and you move on, you can understand that they're going to do it this way. And down at San Bernardino or Long Beach, or if you move to Alabama, or if you move up to Ohio, they're going to do it this way. But also, if you're going into the sciences such as biology and even psychology and other fields, they follow APA. There are important differences. There really are, with the citations and how they put parentheses in the years and the names. And those differences are there because the sciences work slightly differently. Okay? But a very important issue is APA basically follows what MLA does. They overall have the same logic. And I really want you to get this down, along with that bumper sticker of slow thinking is good thinking. And by the way, extra credit if you get that tattooed on your back. So no, don't do that. Okay. The MLA is easier than not MLA. In other words, the way that MLA came up with for formatting essays is by far the easiest method of putting things together. So if you learn it now, you don't have to worry about things. It becomes easier. It is something where you do need to follow certain guidelines, but once you learn them, the vast majority of MLA errors, MLA format errors, are people doing things that they don't need to do. Okay, so that's what this is about. Okay, so I'll go through MLA, but understand that MLA is easier than not MLA. So learning this way, it's going to make your life easier. And if you are going into the sciences, magnificent. You're going to be learning a method called APA. That will be so easy after you understand MLA. And there are real differences. And they work better in each field. In the sciences, APA does work better. I had to learn it when I went to graduate school. Okay, so let me shrink me down. It always takes a little bit of coffee. Works every time. Okay. Here we are in week 4, and we're working through, and here's Antigone. Let's tap on her shoulder. She'll take us to week 4, and as we know, and I'll kind of summarize a bit, and this goes through the early draft, how to get that done, and this is how to develop the middle draft, and what you're doing right now is going to be right there, okay? And here we are, and what we've done so far, what you should have right now is the early draft completed and the middle draft. And let me show you what I've done. And you've seen what I've done. I've worked with the Oedipus play to essentially follow the same format and the same approach. Well, the same approach that you're going to be using for Antigone. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Here's the early draft. And you saw what I did. It was I found the quotations and I described them. And my really rough writing, but no matter. Don't tell anybody, okay? Here is where I shifted from describing the words, basically setting out the facts, describing it in a straightforward manner. What is going on here? And a lot of what you want to keep in mind with this is you are taking the reader to see the evidence from your eyes in a straightforward manner, but from your perspective. You're giving them your eyes and ears to look at the evidence. And this applies whether or not you're working in literature, as we are now, or in history, but it also applies in the sciences, and it applies in engineering, it applies in every single field. And so that's what I call the cognitive aspect, or really getting into what's called epistemology, the epistemology of how the knowledge is created, how we work with evidence. We need to describe it first and examine it, and then we shift gears into the assessment. That's the critical thinking aspect. You might hear the term critical thinking thrown around. It is not just giving somebody an opinion. It is explaining why you think it's important, and it's going to be you. But it's not a simple matter of an opinion. It's going to be an insight. This right here is my insight, my personal one, into what's going on with these words. And that's critical thinking. That's what we're practicing. That's what we're doing right now. Okay, and that was the first body paragraph. And then we did the second one. And I really want to emphasize, once you're in college, nobody really cares about your opinions anymore. Okay, people do care about your insights and your ability to work with the evidence. And it doesn't matter if you're dealing with, real estate, and you're dealing with sales figures and anticipating this aspect or that aspect of the market. They want you working with evidence in the same basic manner that we're dealing with evidence here. Okay, and the same thing if you're dealing in history or any legal issue, same basic thing. What's the evidence? Describe it, let them see it from your perspective. Okay, this is not necessarily your insight, but you're basically breaking it apart with that. That's the description. And then you give your insight. And as you might remember, what we did was to basically copy and paste that over and then developed it and refined it. And we came up with this in the middle draft. And again, this is still kind of rough, but it's a lot better. And what you can see here, here's the first body paragraph, and I set it up. I set up who is speaking to whom about what right here. I took a couple sentences, I got my quotation, and then I revised my description. I made it better. And then I revised my insight. I made it better. And I did that for the second body paragraph. I did it for the third. And then I did it for the fourth. And one little thing I will note here, I was taking down the page number. That's a good idea. It's not required in the early drafts. It just makes life easier as we're moving over to the final version. You don't need to have line number, and you don't need to put little PGs and all that kind of stuff. I call those piggies, PG, and then just put the page number. That's all you need. Again, I'm going to keep saying this. MLA is easier than not MLA. MLA said basically, why would we put PG in there? We already know it's a page, so why bother? They just thought that was stupid. So they just took it out. And so MLA is always easier than not MLA. So if there's a question of whether or not to do something or not do something, MLA chose again and again not to do it, okay? And here's my fourth body paragraph, where everything went bad for Eddie, and you'll be dealing with Antigone or Creon or whomever. And this was my early attempt at the introduction. And here was my early attempt at my thesis. Now, I'm going to need to rewrite that thesis, and I'm going to be doing that right now. And I'm going to make it all better. But one of the things the big thing I'm going to do right now is I'm going to start moving this over into a Word document. Now, I'm going to use Microsoft Word. That's going to be right here. This is a blank document. You should be able to access this one way or another. Everybody's going to be a little bit different, but we're going to be saving it as a PDF and submitting that way. But big thing is get a Word document open, and I'm going to move that over right now. And so let me show you the very start of what I'm going to do. Here, for example, is the introduction. What I'll be doing, and I won't, have you sit there the whole time I'm doing this. I'm going to copy this. This is my introduction. And remember, that is at the start. I could right-click it and just copy. And what I'll be doing is moving that over here. I'll be putting all my name in there, and I'll show you all that in this moment. But then I'll paste it, and you can right-click it. That will paste it. So I did Command or Control V, or I guess Command V on mine. That moved my introduction over. I'm going to delay the video right now and move everything over that I had in the middle draft. So I'm going to move it over, copy and paste it over, and then we're going to start formatting, okay? Hang out for a bit. I'll be right back. Okay, I think I've got it. I've kind of moved it over. It's still a mess, but don't tell anybody, okay? You promised. Let's take a look at it and see how it's going so far. But now I'll walk you through all the steps. And I got to give you a heads up. This is going to be really, really boring. So you might get some coffee, but you cannot have mine, okay? There, it's working. Okay, so this is the introduction. I copied and pasted it all over, and I made this mess out of everything, okay? And mind you, now I start to panic because I know Pendleton wanted like 4 pages, and all I'm looking at is 2. Let me show you how to get it into that final copy so it looks really pretty and he doesn't even know, okay? So first thing is, and let me show you this, and I wrote kind of the rules down so you'd know what was going on. And this goes through it step by step. And it's, again, I really want you to get that idea into your head that MLA is easier than not doing it MLA, okay? It's always easier. And the same thing's going to apply for APA. Once you get it down, it's really kind of nice. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Now, the first things you should be doing is the format and the introduction of the body is kind of pretty it up, make it look good, okay? Double space everything, including everything. Never, ever once should you be shifting into single space. So let's go over and do that. That's going to make things a lot better. Okay, so here we are. And I'm going to select everything, even all these quotations. And one of the things I see consistently is people shifting into single spacing on the quotations. Don't do that. And then what I'll do is I'll come up here. Oh, darn it. It's making a mess out of it. So I'm selecting everything, and hopefully it won't start rolling on me again. And then what I do is I go over here. Let's see if I can show you. And go into the formatting to get, or let's just go ahead and use the pull-down menu. And that's going to allow us to do double space. And you'll have to dig around for a little bit. I'm new with this one, this copy of Word, but paragraph options, it's letting me do it. And so you're looking for this line spacing, and what you want to get is double for the whole darn thing. And notice I have it all selected, and now I got it all double. And hit OK. Everything's double spaced now, okay? And the next thing I want to do, while I have everything selected, is I want to turn everything, you take a seat over there. I want to turn everything into 12-point type, or 12-point size. And that's not too big, but it's not too small. It works for somebody as old as I am and wears glasses. Everything's double. Now, one of the things you need to do is pick a font. And MLA does not exactly say it all must be this font, but it says you should follow what the instructor asks for. And in the vast majority of cases, instructors ask for Times New Roman. It's actually easier to read. For many computer programs, Arial is a default font. but go ahead and go with Times New Roman. And now I need to make this very clear. Times New Roman is not spelled out specifically in MLA, okay? But most instructors think it is, and they prefer it anyway. So just go ahead and put it in Times New Roman and you won't get any complaints, okay? So that's the first level of taking care of things. And now I've got it mostly, I've got the major things. It still isn't quite there, but boy, it's a heck of a lot longer and it's looking better. And it's getting closer, and I still need to revise it, okay? It's still not there. And so I've got these things done. So I've double-spaced everything. One font, Times New Roman is the best way to go, okay? You can do it Arial, but do it Times New Roman. 12 point, and then indent the paragraphs, okay? And what we're going to be doing is integrating the quotations and doing block quotations for 4 lines or more and getting the page numbers in. So let's do that now, okay? Let's go in there, and again, take a sip of coffee because this is going to be really, really boring. And I'll get my name and all that up there, but let's get the paragraph and the indents. Let's make it look good. I'm indenting every paragraph. And now the numbers 2, 3, 4, 5, and all that, those were when I was sketching out the introduction. And we're all making this into one big introduction. You put a space in between each sentence. You don't need to have 2 spaces. MLA is easier than not MLA. Now, this was my thesis statement right here. I'm going to have to revise that. I'll come back to that. But you want your thesis statement as the last sentence of the introduction. Last sentence of the introduction. It should not be standing alone like this. And so I'll put it in the last spot. There it is. You do not need to put it in italics or bold or anything. MLA is easier than not MLA, okay? This is my first body paragraph. And again, all of this was taken and copied and pasted over. I'm going to have to revise this, but I'll get to that. Let me format it first, and then we'll worry about that. This is the first body paragraph. What you don't do this. Don't put 2 returns in between paragraphs. Don't do that. Just don't, okay? MLA is easier than not MLA. You indent every body paragraph, okay? Now, one of the things with quotations, I believe this quotation is done there. And I believe these are. I believe this quotation is 1, 2, 3, 4 lines in Sophocles. I believe that's how it's formatted. I'll check that later on, okay? So I'll check it later. But this whole thing, as a quotation, needs to be block quoted. This whole thing is 4 lines or more. I can count that high, even though I'm an English teacher, I can do that. And so that's how far it is. And what's going on here, it's got a little bit of an issue with hard returns and all that. I'll come back to that later. But we need to block quote it. And if you can see right up to the top, right next to me, right there, okay, is the indent. That's takes it back to the margin, but we want the indent. We want to indent the whole darn thing. Do not do this, okay? This is what many students do, and they soon regret it. Don't do that, okay? That creates problems for you later on, okay? Just select the whole darn thing and do this. That's it. That's all you have to do, okay? And each one of these does need to have a hard return after them. But we'll worry about that later. We'll get all the minor issues in a bit. So I'll take care of that later, make it look better in a moment. But this was a hard return right there. And that's the first body paragraph, okay? That whole thing right there is the first body paragraph. That's how it looks. And let's get the second body paragraph. It starts right here. And remember, no double returns. Don't do that. Do this. And I've got my next quotation. It's got 4 lines or more, so I've got to indent it this way. Okay. Take a sip of coffee and stick with me. For some reason, that wants me to change that, but I know better. And now you can take a look at this. This is it is an error. That's troubled. But right here is my description, and here is my analysis. I need to make those into one body paragraph. We're in paragraph 2. There we go. Put a space there. That is the description and then the analysis all in one body paragraph. Here's the next body paragraph. And you know where this is going. I just hit an indent. That's all I do. I don't put an extra return. MLA, sing it with me, is easier than not MLA. Okay? And here is another, that quotation is 4 lines or more, so that's all we got to do. Okay? Everybody can buy the bumper sticker for the MLA is easier than not MLA. Notice how easy this is, okay? And then I integrated the description in with the analysis into the same body paragraph, and then I start a new paragraph right there, okay? And he does, and I will double check this beforehand. I believe this was formatted improperly. I will double check it before I send this in because I know Pendleton gets all mad. He's kind of a grouch. Don't tell him I said that. And here we go. Here's another paragraph or another quotation. That's all indented. And this is the description. I've got Oedipus misspelled. Let's correct that. And let's join the analysis up with the description. Notice that's all we've got so far, and that's pretty dang good. Now it looks a lot more like an essay. We're not done yet. We haven't got the name and all that, but boy, oh boy, it looks good. Let's do the name. Okay, let's act like my name is Dougie Schwartz. That's my name, and then the instructor's name is Joseph Pendleton. Spell his name right. He gets really mad about that. And then I put the class down, English 101. And that's all you got to do. You don't need the section number and all that. That's whatever. That's a little overkill. And then the date the essay is turned in. It's going to be due on Monday, March 15th. So, and then we do it day, month, year. And that's it. And then what we need is a title. That's my title. Don't just put Antigone essay or Oedipus essay or something like that. Come up with an actual title, like it's going to be a book or something like that, or made into a movie. No, really, yeah. Come up with an actual title, and then center that darn thing. That's it, okay? Just center the title, and you're happy. Now, the other thing you'll need to do to get this set up before we start the works cited is to insert the name on the top of each page with the page number. Now, let me get me out of the way and show you how to do that, okay? It's a little bit tricky, so stick with me, but it's not difficult to do. Do insert, go to insert, that's where you have to go. Do not just do this. Don't do this, okay? I double click on here. Let's see if it's gonna let me into the header. Yeah, it's letting me in, and don't do this. See, I didn't need to listen to Pendleton. I figured it out myself. And then I aligned it to the right. It looked, oh, that's almost like, no, that's wrong. Don't do that, okay? So let me undo all that silliness. Don't do that, okay? Do it this way. Insert, and then go to page number, okay? Go to page number, and it works the same way if you're working on an Apple or if you're working on a PC. The same basic logic applies. You might have different little screens to interact with, but the same basic thing applies. Go to insert and then page number. Do it this way. It's going to work. If you try to insert it, just double click on there, it's going to create a mess. We're going to put it up in the upper right, and that will put the page number in, and then I'll put Schwartz. Page, and then I have a space, and then I click back down in here, and that will enter the page number for each of the pages. It will be there when we print it out, okay? Now, I'm going to write up. I'm going to develop a few things, and then I'm going to come back, and I'm going to write the conclusion, and I'm going to refine some of this and clean it up, but I'll be right back, and what we'll do is do the works cited, okay? So hold tight. Okay, I'm finally there. Looks like well, I guess I'm almost there. Okay, whatever. But this is overall what it's going to look like. I've got some spelling errors in here, and I do have some more work to do. My main thing is that I need to develop what I've already done. Okay, I need to refine it a little bit more to get it in that really good final looking. But I've inserted the name and page number, and that will print out. It's not showing in the version right now, but it's in there. I did the insert and the page number, and then I inserted the page number and my name. So that's all there. I did all of this. I don't have extra spaces in here. You didn't see that. Okay. But I've got I've got the writing cleaned up. I've got the thesis as the last sentence here, and that's the main sentence. And this is the topic, and I've always set it up, and I'm going to clean this up and make it look really pretty. And I'll go over this with you with the checklist before I submit this, but I still need a works cited at the end. Let's get that done, okay? And so let's put in, and we started the margin. Stick with me on this, okay? I'm going to put works cited because there's only one work, so there's only one. And the first thing is you need the author's name. The author is Sophocles, not Ian Johnston. He's the translator. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a works cited for Antigone, even though, yes, I did write about Oedipus and I should do that, but I think this would be a little bit more helpful if I did Antigone. Antigone is the work. And there we go. Now the translator is Ian Johnston. And then I need the publisher. And how I get that is here. And I'm going to call up Antigone. And this is it right here. And this is all your information that you're going to need. It's Vancouver Island University. That's who's hosting it. Now, this is not a paper copy. It's a PDF, but they're the ones hosting it. And it's in British Columbia, Canada, and all that kind of stuff. So let's go back and finish this up. So Vancouver Island University is the publisher. Oh, gotta learn how to spell still. And, oh, I still gotta learn how to spell. Island University, and then the year, I think it was 2005. And it's a PDF. You always need the format of it. Now, a big thing is this is only going to be one line. And I will show you with the next unit how to do 2 lines. But that's pretty much it, okay? Now, a couple of other characteristics, they kind of matter. They're not that important. But we need this on a separate page. Now, what you can do is insert a page break. And notice it's on insert right now, and I could pick page break. So that would do it. Or I can hit Command Enter. So let's go ahead and hit page break. But I'm on insert, and then you hit page break. This will put it on a separate page. And then I want to center the works cited. Okay, so I want that in the very center. So I go back to home so I can get all these doodads, and I'm going to select center. And that's how it's going to be. The title is in italics. That's the only part. The rest of the information is author, work, the translator, the publisher, and the city. Notice how easy that is.